What's up, Jones Bones? It is your girl, Unitedly Random, and I am wearing pants. They're Wakanda colored. And today is Juneteenth. Actually, tomorrow is Juneteenth, and honestly, by the time you guys get this video, it's probably going to be like July 10th because, yeah. But today I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about how I view, I guess, race, specifically being black, right? Right after this intro.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Now, I don't know if I can really streamline this. If you guys don't know me, my name is Unitedly Random, and I ramble. I have ADHD, so I truly do ramble. I've made a couple videos talking about my racist in-laws, talking about Blackness, how I kind of view the biracial divide. And today, I just wanted to talk about something that I think will continue to be brought up as time goes on, which is this idea that my palm-colored brothers and sisters, because we are a human race, so my palm-colored brothers and sisters have this idea that as a black person, we as people just kind of harp on the whole situation of, I don't know how to say this without being demonetized on YouTube, but slavery. We harp on slavery, right? And given that today is June 19th, I wanted to speak a little bit about, I guess, slavery, or I think why black people tend to kind of like harp on slavery. So if you guys don't know, Juneteenth, I'm going to read from Wikipedia because you know it's right. Juneteenth is a federal holiday in the United States to celebrate or commemorate the end of slavery in the United States. Okay? So it's coming from June 19th, 1895, when Major General Gordon Granger ordered the final enforcement of the Emancipation Proclamation in Texas at the end of the American Civil War. Okay? So that's how we kind of got into June 19th. Now, it does say that the people who remained legally enslaved that never seceded the Union, they got free December 6, 1865. Okay? So it's also called Jubilee Day, Freedom Day, Black Independence Day. So it's a day of reckoning. And it became a day 2021. Okay? So we're from 1866 to 2021. Now, the end of slavery did not stop the segregation of blacks. You know, if we could get into when we stopped really segregating, dang, this is a history lesson. Let me see. Jim Crow laws, because my father, he grew up during that era. So Jim Crow laws, when was that? Ew. So they're talking about such laws as Jim Crow laws remained in force until 1965. And so I bring all of this up just to say that my mother and my father, even though they are the later generation, because they were older parents when we were being raised, they grew up with some hand, or they grew up around the conversation of Jim Crow laws. Like, it was still happening, right? My mother's grandmother was a maid. My fraternal grandmother was also a maid. And my father's father was sharecropping. Okay? So he remembers that. And mind you, my father is dead, and my mother I have no contact with, so we can't really get more into these conversations with them. But think that the reason as a black nation or as black people we bring up slavery so much is because it's not as far removed for us as the other people might think. This is just a reality. Like, I know a mother who knows her mother, okay? Like, I know a mother, and like, you know what I mean? It's close. It's close. It's not like it's my great 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 grandfather. It's my father's father. It's my mother's mother. Well, not my mother's mother. My mother had my mother pretty fast. It's my mother's grandmother. So it's still pretty close in the generation. Like, the people who were directly affected by it are still in the process of dying, okay? But they are still alive, if that makes sense, right? So this whole conversation has been brought up because I think that we need to speak about how, in my head, the reason that people are speaking out more about these injustices. I think that on average, the black community is becoming more educated, more articulate, and we are also having more access to spaces to have these conversations. Spaces to have these conversations in a big platform. And therefore, when we find our voice, we say it loud, okay? I think that at the end of the day, there's so much I want to say about slavery. And realistically, I don't want my channel to become something that is about racism. I don't want my channel to become something that is about anything that's beyond me, okay? This is unitedly random, and we can get united and we can get random, but at the end of the day, my blackness is a part of me, so I thought, okay, we should have this conversation a little bit, right? The reason that people are so gung-ho or so communicating about racism and communicating about slavery and communicating their anger is, one, they have the space to do it, and that is not bad. I think that communicating anger is just something that we as humans should be able to do. It's kind of like when people say, oh, why are you still talking about something that happened in the past? It's because it still has an effect, right? No one's going to bring up something that happened in the past without it still in a way affecting them or coming up in their brain. And why does it come up in their brain? It still affects them, right? So as a black person, I still believe that us as Americans are affected by racism. I still believe that on top of racism, we are also dealing with this disease called poverty. And I believe that because of racism, black people were more likely to be in a class of poverty, okay? We do have our high shooters. We do have the people who have dragged their way out of this situation. But at the end of the day, we weren't kind of given a step up, right? We started at the bottom and now we're where we are. And on top of that, you know, there's to say that there were a lot of realities in which black people were going to jail for a significantly more amount of time than our white counterparts. We can take that back to racism, we can take that back to poverty, but we also know that the reality is that if it was a poor white man and a poor black man, the odds are that the black man would get 1 to 2 more years. I don't know the exact statistics, but that has been a conversation that has been had, and that's just the reality of it, right? So because of these realities, it's really hard to say that there is no connection to the past. At least to me, there's a very strong connection to the past with our present people. And I would take it a step further and give you what I love to do, which is put it in a different situation. The reality of slavery and the reality of these rules against black people, the segregation of black people, the in a way the spreading of poverty within the black community, and the government kind of putting their hand in to ensure that the mental illness of poverty kind of stays a reality, I think that we were, in a way, set up to fail. But we are still thriving, right? Because that's what we do. We try, and go, go, go. And this is just human nature. It's not just black people. In general, people continue to go, go, go. If you stop going, you die. So we keep going, going, going at our own pace. Some people are faster than others. And I would say that in the black community, we are pushed to be a little bit faster than our counterparts. This is in just in general, different races. I can hear that be a conversation, and I could be a part of that conversation. I do think that I was pushed to be better, to do better, because I'm holding the entirety of my race on my back, right? And I don't know, or I haven't had a conversation with a white person who has yet to tell me that when they were growing up, they were pushed and pushed and pushed because they needed to make sure that they made their race look better. Or in general, any other race. I haven't been around people who have had that conversation. But I think in Asian households, it's more so, instead of being, you need to be push, push, push to make our race look better, is you need to be push, push, push to make us look better. Like our house. It's more directed towards family. It's more directed towards, you are an extension of me. And in the black community, it seems like black people are an extension of blackness instead of an extension of their individuality. This is not a critique. This is not a deep dive. I'm just speaking from the heart. So the problem and the reason why I think that people are still bringing this up is simply because we had a traumatized individual. We told the traumatized individual that they can now leave home, and the traumatized individual didn't know they were traumatized, or did, but they don't know what to do next, turning to a life of crime. Even though we were taken out of the situation of the trauma-filled household, we still have to provide for ourselves, turning this into a situation where poverty is more likely. At this point in life, I can only see this whole conversation of blackness in the scopes of my own individual experience. And I believe that we were set up to fail. I believe that I was set up to fail when I walked away from my family. I believe that even before I was walking away from my family, I was set up to fail by being placed in foster care. I believe that even before I was being placed in foster care, I was set up to fail because my mother was addicted to drugs and had AIDS. I believe that even before my mother was addicted to drugs and had AIDS, I was set up to fail because the drugs were slipping into the streets of Georgia, and AIDS were going around, and the conversation wasn't being had about how to be safe until a while off. And even then, the stigma between actually having the disease and actually getting help was a whole reality that a lot of people had to deal with, right? So all of this to say that we received freedom, we didn't know what to do with it, we had to turn to a life of struggle. Some people checked out because understandably it's hard. Even now we can see a lot of people are checking out from this whole American dream because it's hard. And that's not to say that it's more what do people always say? Oh, if it's hard, that means that it's going to be more rewarding. It's hard. Let's stop it at that. It's hard. Forget about the rewards, because realistically in my head, if I'm working for the rewards and I'm not seeing it, then that puts me into a negative space. So I'm like, oh, I'm trying, I'm so positive. But reality, I wanted something from that positivity. In reality, I wanted something. And because I wanted something, my intentions, even though I think, wow, I'm so pure, I'm going forward with this dream, it's clouding the intentions, right? You know, even if I'm not consciously starting to become a more negative person because I'm not getting it, I think subconsciously you become a more negative person because you're not getting it. And all in all, we were burnt out. I think as a Black nation, we are burnt out. I think as a nation in general, Americans are burnt out. And people can have the conversation of just this new generation is so lazy. But I think the reality is there is no energy that is being created. All of the energy on earth is already here, right? This is getting into the whole conversation of reincarnation. We are reincarnating over and over and over and over again. So the issue is we have the people that we were in the past have died, who have struggled, and who have come to this point. And we feel like, okay, we already struggled. We're ready to live the good life now. So each generation is getting to that point where we've died, we're being reborn, we're tired of struggling, let's fix the situation, let's fix it, okay? And I think that we as people are getting to the point where we kind of feel powerless. How do we fix it? How do we fix it? Like in the past, there were so many things that people were like, we need to focus on this, we need to do that, we need to do this, we need to end slavery. But at the end of the day, what do we fix? What are we fixing as a humanity? I think at this point we need to start looking at what's outside and start fixing what's inside, right? I think that is the shift for now, the internal shift. The healing of your inside so that you can go further. And we healed a lot outside that we can do that. And realistically, all of the outside is not healed. We still have wars going on. We still have all of these issues. I heard something about Russia the other day and I was just like, oh my gosh. You know, we still have all of these external issues. But to a certain extent, as people, you and me, the person who is looking at me from the other side of the screen, we are not Russia. We are not these different spaces. We're not even America. We are not even where we had come from. We are still an individual person. And the best thing that we can do, I believe, is to put our energy into ourselves. Put our energy into our children and put our energy into creating safe homes for the future. We have no control over the future, but we have control over us to a certain extent. And all of this is to say that happy Juneteenth. It's not like I just went on a complete random tangent, but happy Juneteenth. And I want you guys to know that as Black people, we are still healing outside of our trauma. That's just the reality. As Black people, and just as Americans, I think America is like one of the most mentally ill places. Most mentally ill places that I've ever been. Not to say the world, but that I've ever been. America is pretty mentally ill. It's the drugs. It's definitely the drugs have put us in a place. It's the poverty, it's the drugs. Those things have put us in a place where we are hurting as a nation. And I don't have the space to do anything external right now because I'm trying to make sure that I internally change enough that I don't become a part of the external problem. Right? So, all in all, this will keep being a conversation that comes up. The world is changing, and that's completely fine. On this Juneteenth day, we are recognizing the ending of slavery, but we also recognize that the slavery mindset never stopped. I believe that we, as a humanity, will make it. We are not doomed. We are just trying really hard, okay? And I believe that we are on the best course for us in this moment, okay? And that we need to listen and remain open to the world around us. Because if you remain open to the world around us, if you remain open to the world around you, you will get the signs. And you will feel more in alignment to your purpose in this world. Before I leave, I want to say something about a tarot reader that I watched, and I think it was ASOS Tarot. But she said something, and she was talking about how, well, I picked a pile where it spoke about how I was envious or jealous. Or if it's not those two feelings, there's this feeling of I don't have all that I want. There's a feeling of lack. And I agree, because I do feel like there is a feeling of lack where I am in life. There's so much more that I want, and I do believe that I will get, but the problem is I haven't gotten it yet, right? And so listening to her speak, I realized that that is the world. You know, a lot of these times when we're doing tarot readers, or we're doing tarot readings, or we're watching tarot readings, that it's not just, oh, this is specifically for me. There's so many people who also chose that pile. There's so many people who will also feel these feelings. Like, in reality, there is this idea at one point that we are so individualistic. We're our own person. But then if you take it a step further, we're not that individualistic. We're not individuals in the way that we think we are individuals, right? That we're still groups. And we do have our differences in that group, but we still fit into certain aspects. Like, if someone received a certain type of trauma when they're young, they fit into a certain category, which bleeds into their everyday life of how they treat or deal with certain situations. We are just our trauma responses. So it's a whole interesting conversation. And I don't know if I gave it to you as clear as I wanted to give it to you, but I just wanted to have the conversation at the very least. So, much love and positive vibes. Let me know your thoughts down below. Do you also agree with me that life is a trauma response? And if not, let me know why not. No, babies. Make sure you like and subscribe, because we are trying to make it to 7K. Again, like and subscribe because we're trying to make it to 7K. Bye bye.